right. Welcome. I don't know what's wrong with the music. I don't have any sound on, so tell me what it is. I'll start fixing it next time. I'm going to be able to fix it now because, hey, it's over with. Well, welcome to another night of Tuesday Terrain Tuesday. We are actually going to work on terrain tonight. So, I mean, technically, I've been working on terrain. I mean, the dropship is terrain. So, hopefully you can hear me okay. There's no problems with that. There's no telling. It might have been. I kind of waited the last minute to turn the computer on, so maybe the computer was doing an update or something was getting in the way. Sounded like the sound kept pitching up and down, like that tape that had. I don't know. I will double check it. I don't have speakers on the computer without putting head PC. Put that on my list for tomorrow, and hopefully I don't have a problem with it. Okay, so we are a little over a month out from virtual CAVCon. So I'm supposed to have this desert board ready by then. So I figured it was time I better get back in here on. So that is what I'm working on tonight. I've got all these hills that I built that you've seen me on some of the other shows. They were all washed, darken them up. So I'm going to put my medium and go from there. So answering questions and mixing those bad beats. So how is everybody tonight? I hope well. Hopefully you're in a place that you can enjoy the weather today. We actually today, though it's cool off again. All right. And yes, James, I do appreciate the fact that you show up to take care of 12-year-olds. At least us that have the mentality. Hopefully I'm doing this the same way that I have done my other. We will find out. Have to get us a DJ. Well, good. So from James Stream, are we going to see some Cobra Naga statues? Not that I'm aware of. Did I miss something? James, are you supposed to clue me in on something? What have I missed, James? What have you told people? Yes, everybody paint. You got over a month. There's no reason why anybody that listens to any of our streams should not have at least one entry in the painting contest. And it's not really even a contest. It's more of, we want people to show off what you're doing. Nobody's going to be making fun of your stuff. Nobody's going to say, oh, how horrible you are. We're going to talk about everybody's things and go from there. Want people to see oh yeah, well, I do that all the time. There's a lot of Reaper figures that painted gray and dry brushed make great statues. So I have a winged avatar that they did, some kind of an angel looking guy or whatever, that's holding a sword up in one hand. I've got him to make for a water fountain, put out in the center of a water fountain. So yes, always anything that you look like that. Look at those 25 millimeter, and stuff like that. It's super easy. Paint them a dark gray, dry brush a couple of lighter grays on them, and voila, you have statues. I don't know if you've seen some of the ones that I'm using some of the Egyptian figures that they've got, some of the cat gods and stuff like that for my desert board here. So yeah, no, it's very, very, very good. I did see that James showed off the Warden B. That's going to be one. It'll be a while before it comes out. We're still adjusting some stuff on it. But I spent the day working on lots and lots of goodies for CAVCon. Everybody's going to really, I think, like all the little goodies that we're going to have for you to get a hold of. All right, there's that one. No problem. We'll catch it on. Here we go, the light. Hello. I know that I am super, super excited about it. Last year when we decided to do one, it was kind of last minute, and me and James got together, but we've got lots more people participating. We're going to have more people here that we do things live, and we'll hear, and we're going to play games. We're going to talk. We're going to paint. Be a fun show. Got a couple of other surprises, some things to people included in. As we get closer, we will talk more about it. Yeah, unfortunately, normally when James comes out and hangs out, I have a camper, for him. And our camper did not ride through the 2 weeks of frozen weather well. Gonna have to have some repairs made to it. Doubt that it will be ready before CAVCon. We will have plenty of terrain to play on our desert. Set it up, move it around, do whatever we want to do with it. We will be good to go. Hey, just a little bit of everything. I don't know. I see lots of guys dry brush and they have pieces of paper and stuff like that. best thing in the world to dry brush on is a paper towel. It is so much easier to control and get paint off, so you don't overdo it. Really, really works. Or if you've got your own way, I'm not trying to tell you, but I haven't done a lot of dry brushing. Paper towel. Done. Just toss them in the trash. Hello, Colonel Kane. How are you tonight? Now, hopefully, I'm going to get more of this done this week, and then I'm going to get back to my CAV base. We got to get that finished, put together. I still have the Central Plaza to do. I'm actually going to redo. Worked on some of it here, but I'm not happy with the way some of it has turned out. So I was going to redo some. Fortunately, the weather got in the way, and now that the weather's got better, so but we're going to have we're working still on getting all the new casting system installed. We're moving stuff between buildings. Weather got in the way of that. So, but the last delivery that we're expecting got delayed as well. So we got a little breather there. Yes, it's very rocky. Very rocky night. But I thought it was important that we actually work on terrain. Even though, the job ship's really terrain. I gotta get back to it. I'm gonna try to get it finished up by the weekend. I just had to set it aside. I had to take a break from it. I put two good weeks in it while it was so cold. I was about to work on. And it just I was sick of looking at it. I've just got a couple little changes on it, and we're working on getting all the material in that we're going to need, because obviously cutting one of them out takes about 9 square feet of MDF. So got a hold of our supplier, and they are getting us a bunch rather than normally we just get a sheet or two. That's the way it's been. I'm just having to. Normally, when the weather's cold or bad, that's really a lot of my writing time. But I've been burned out. I was tired of writing. Got the old CAD program out, and off we went to the races. Yeah. Well, that's the most I've got done on a single project all at one time in a long. But that way we'll have it up and ready. Like I said, it'll definitely be available come CAVCon. So coming off, I have to do a little hair work, but that's no problem. Where we put little tufts of grass, so forth. That up over there. Just amazing how great dry brushing makes anything look. Yeah. Well, this is not my first company. I've pretty much worked for myself since 19. So yeah, and not all that it's made up to be. But I do get to enjoy the, other than my wife, she's the only one that gets to boss me around, and my mom. Sometimes my daughters and my sons. Other than that, yeah, I got to start off my day with a much pleasant experience. Um, Here where the shop sits, we have some pipelines that run under one corner of the property that runs out to the refinery that's here in town. And of course, they have a right of way for that. I came in this morning, there's a red truck parked out in the middle of the grass right off the one of our driveways. And of course, we got 6 inches of snow or whatever, and that's been sitting around, and the ground is just saturated out there. I mean, you just step on the grass and the ground, you can see your footprints with the water coming up through the ground. Of course, I didn't know that the truck wasn't marked or anything. I walk out there, I get out of the truck, I walk up to the truck, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And oh well, I'm here with the pipeline. We're running they send a plug, what they call a plug, through there to do inspections, and so they set up monitoring stations along the way so that they can listen to it or whatever. I said, cool, that's no problem. And but I said, if you wouldn't mind, because literally, I mean, he pulled off the gravel 10 feet just to be parked out there in the grass. And I asked him very nicely. I said, hey, would you mind pulling up back, you're moving your truck back over here onto the gravel? Because, and you could see the ruts where he'd already driven out there. When this all dries, when we go out there and try to mow, it makes it a little rough on the mower. It just tears the hell out of it because it's so rough. And it quickly, apparently, he was having a bad day. Oh, pig. I'm sorry, a pig. Yeah, it's a pig. My fault. I was thinking plug, but you're right, it's a pig. So we had a few words, but he did move his truck. But I did a very good job. I didn't let it bring me down for the day. Don't like starting off that way. I try not to be a negative. I know that some people I have a reputation of being quick to boil off, but and probably when I was younger, probably more so. I really don't like to argue anymore. I don't like to fight. I don't want to scream. I don't want to yell. I just want things to go, to happen. And I'm easy going as long as you do what you're supposed to do, what you tell me you're going to do. Even if something doesn't work out right, just come and tell me. Just explain to me, hey, I need an extra day, and whatever. I understand. Stuff happens. It happens to me all the time. But I'm not one for like to be left kept in the. I worked very, very hard today to let that shape my day. Yo, what's up? Oh, I'm just sharing little anecdotal stories. Talking to the world about an average day at Fun Games. And dry brush and terrain. Lots of terrain. That's why I was just telling him the story. Yeah, about how my day started with the inspector. He did get out of the truck. That's the first thing he did after I started talking to him. After I asked him to move out of the truck, he came and decided to get his ass in the air. I am not one to be intimidated. Pretty far. He was a little tiny guy. Those are the worst ones. My dad used to always tell me. Messing with people or getting into something, never mess with a little guy or an old guy. Because a little guy can't mess with you and the old guy won't mess. That's when you get hurt. Probably so. Yeah, probably 6 foot, 6 foot. Little skinny guy. But he's a pipeline guy. So, pipeline guys are t- 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 tend to be a little more of your rougher crowd, has been my experience. Yeah. But people ask me all the time is, so how tall was he? Or, somebody all that. I'm like, hey, everybody's short to me. So I'm the worst guy to ask trying to tell you how tall somebody is. Everybody looks short. Have I told you guys have I ever told you about the hang in the picture story? Yeah, I've probably got people here who haven't heard it, so I'll go ahead. It's always a funny story. So in my other life, I'm a graphic designer by trade, and uh, I worked for a company in Tulsa, and the one of the ladies that was part of the legal counsel team that was there, she comes down to my office one day, and goes, "Hey, we've got a bunch of pictures that we need to have hung up on the executive floor." And I guess because I'm the graphic designer for the company, that automatically entailed me that I was in charge of getting the pictures. So I get the couple of facility guys, and we go up there, and they've got all these framed pictures and things that they want hung up down this long hallway. So okay, so we get out and we I figure out kind of, I guess that's where the graphic design side kind of come up with a design, I guess, with the way that they're all laid out. So we get all that done, and I direct them, and we make sure they're all hung level and all nice and done. And I get them done. It takes a couple hours. So I go eat lunch, go back to my office. So I'm back at my desk probably 30 minutes after or whatever. I get a call, and it's this lawyer. She asked me to come up to her office. She's up there on the executive floor. Okay, I'll be right up there. Huh. I come up there, and she goes, here, I need to show you something. So we walk back to the hallway. So I'm all ready to get all kudos. Oh, you did a great job. This looks great. And she's like, do you see the problem here? And I said, no, I don't. It all looks fine to me. So she goes, just pay attention. So she walks down the hallway. Well, of course, she's not a very tall lady anyway, or whatever. But because I had hung the pictures, normal for me, everybody else had to walk down the hallway, looking up at all the pictures. So as she walked down about halfway through the hallway, I realized where we were headed here with everything. So I had to get the facility guys back up there and drop everything down. You say, don't ask the tall guy to hang your pictures. Back when I was still working at Reaper Miniatures, we used to go to a bunch of shows every year, especially during the summer. And usually there was a van that we drove, and there was a group of us, and me and the owner and his wife, maybe somebody else. So we'd all load up in the van and hook the trailer up if it was going, and off we would go for our little road trips, going to all of these shows. Well, as the company got bigger and we started going to shows further out and everything, it was decided, well, that's just too far to drive. So we'll ship stuff out there, and we'll get on the plane. So I was quite prone to, as I walked down what they call the thing that hooks to the plane. You walk down it, go into the plane. So as I walk down it, of course, as big as I am and everything like that, if I really put my foot down, I could make that dude shake. Notoriously known for singing the Imperial Death March and marching down that thing. So most people thought it was funny. Sometimes they didn't. Art is about perspective. That is very true. One man's art is another man's, I don't know, graffiti. I know that there are lots of things that are considered art. We do not consider art. Most of your modernists and stuff like that, I don't have no use for. I'm very much a old school Leonardo and Monet and Rembrandt, stuff like that. To me, that's not much into abstract. Painting a picture of something like a soup can because you think it's trendy. But that's me. I'm kind of a down to earth kind of guy. Well, you know, and I'm all for, you know, people. Oh well, uh, you know, you're the idea, or you know, or something like that. But there's just, and I'm not saying that you have to paint realistic. I just, you know, because I mean, I like Van Gogh. I mean, a lot of stuff that he does, but it's got to really have a reason. So, you know, I'm not a Picasso guy. To me, you can try to convince us all what it is and tell me that's what it is, but I don't get it. That's why I get such uh, that's true. A lot of his earlier stuff is he didn't get it. He didn't get into all the cubism at the beginning and stuff. Um, so, uh, yeah, it was a lot of fun in my first year at college when you have to take art appreciation. Uh, and I'm not trying to ditz on anybody as far as what they do and how they go it, but um, I get a big kick on sometimes watching some of the mini painters. I mean, there are guys out there that paint are it's just incredible the stuff that they do. I follow that Sergio guy, and I mean he paints stuff that just absolutely blows my mind. But it's funny to listen to him get into arguments over color, which I know that it applies. I know you want to want to use these colors to make these colors pop, and but sometimes they get a little in my I'm all I love the hobby. I like the things it does. I like what it does to bring people together. And but sometimes some of our gamer brethren and painters and stuff like that lose sight that what we do is not going to cure cancer, not going to end world famine or war. So enjoy it for what it is, and try not to convince us all that it's the greatest thing since. Paints away. Yeah, my dream build right now is that's all. Yes, it's ultimately it's grown ups playing with little dolls, and there are things that it builds and that it does, and of course it brings out some bad things in some people too. Believe me, I've played against some people that I just whoa cannot believe that what we're doing here, but um, you know, but you have to look at it in perspective as people do, unfortunately. But my dream build is first my first game of ever was Dungeons and Dragons. Grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, love it. Wish that I could get back into it. Me and James have talked about trying to get a group together. They play down in Tulsa quite a bit, and um, I would very much like to get back into it. Yeah, I think that the greatest thing ever was of course as we grew up and we played, and I started off in a little town in Oklahoma is where we were playing, where I learned the game or started playing it. And it was me and my brother and another friend that we had picked it up. And so I was the first GM. And of course, the only thing that you have to know how to play is kind of some examples that they put in the book. And of course, we started off with the red book, just the Dungeons and Dragons. So that's all we had to look at to know. So we started playing, and we had fun and everything, but it was always in the back of my mind. I'm like, are we doing it right? But there really wasn't nowhere at the time. There wasn't no videos to go watch or Twitch channels or anything like that. You just kind of had to wing it. And so we played, and as we moved around, I played with new groups, and I like GM, and I don't have a problem. So that ended up being what I did most of the time. I'd build campaigns and everything like that. But always in the back of my mind, am I doing it right? Am I, we're having fun. That's what's important. So, that part of it's not going to change that, but I'm just always, are we doing it right? Are we doing it right? So finally, after all these years, my youngest son comes in one day and starts talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And he had been watching him play on YouTube and wanted to see about playing. I said, show me what you're doing. So we go in there and he turns the video on or whatever. And it's one of the big shows that I think it become bigger now. And so we watch for about 30 minutes watching him play Dungeons and Dragons. And, these guys are supposed to be the coup de grace of GMing and playing, and they did it just like we did. So I was like, oh, thank God! After all these years, I now know that we were doing it right. So he started playing with some friends and stuff, and I was going to get in it, and I just never had a chance to. Everything else going on. So, but one of my favorite to play, I wrote a lot of my own stuff too, but it was The Secret of Bone Hill. It's one of the early on modules that TSR put out to play. And to me, that is what D&D is. Just the things that go on with all that. And of course, it connects to a lot of a bigger series and stuff like that. But I want to go, I still have that module, and I want to go through it and build everything in it in 3D. And the kids are people through it with all 3D and keep and dungeons and all that good. That's what I want to build. Whether I'll ever get to it, I don't know. We can only hope. Weird colorations here. Get everything washed good, or something going on with the. That's all right. We'll get it all. It'll all look right. We get enough crap on it. All look good. This using sand and stuff on these makes it a lot easier to dry brush on them, but it is tough on your brushes. Time to charge my little paint lid here. Ooh, you got to hear that in stereo. All right. This is all the little scatter stuff. I've still got 4 or 5 big hills I need to, got them already built and sanded. They just haven't been base coated and washed yet. A lot of these pieces fit on top of that. Ran out of room here pretty quick. That's good. That means I'm getting stuff done. Yeah. Yeah, I had hoped that we were going to be able to put together some kind of a CAV RPG game for, to run like Friday night or something. I don't think that's going to happen because we really don't have anybody else to step up that's able to do it. Got too many other things going. Try to figure it all out. So, but that's something we want to come up and play with in the future. Some kind of CAV, some rule set, maybe eventually our own. Who knows? Play a little role playing in the CAV universe. Normally I use a much bigger brush for these pieces. This is gonna. We should have, I was hoping to have it this week, but it's probably going to be the first of next week. We should have the art done for the t-shirt design, which tentatively is going to be loaded up on Zazzle. I was going to look and see if there's something better. I mean, I don't think anybody's complained about using Zazzle with some of the other shirts that we've done. I know that there's a lot more choices out there than from when we started using some of them electronically. Normally we have them printed and have at the shows, but because it being virtual, it's no idea of how many people want them or anything, so digital. But I'm hoping to have the artwork speak. Load it up. Convention t-shirt, you'll be good. And I like the idea behind it and stuff. I just couldn't get into Ravenloft. It was just it didn't seem Dungeons and Dragons enough. I had problems with the Ravenloft, a lot of the astral stuff that they ended up doing, um, with the ships and the astral planes, everything like that. Um, the Egyptian stuff, the desert stuff, didn't really do me. So, and I'm not dissing on anybody that enjoyed them. I just, it wasn't my cup of tea, but it I just couldn't get into. I guess because it was so Dracula, and it just didn't seem as Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm sure that's probably true. If if I had a GM that was another GM that wanted to play it and could do a good job, like I said, I generally always GM stuff, and I just never. So that reflected into what we actually play. I like I like good. It's like watching a good Star Wars story. There's just the right mix for me that just hits all the right buttons, and I'm good to go. And that's really how I am. Dungeons and Dragons. I was very disappointed that the new, what is it, the Bard's Tale or whatever, the new D&D game that was coming out, Baldur's Gate or something, whatever. Githyanki and Ethereal Plane and Mind. I guess I'm too much of a Tolkien boy. I like my D&D vanilla. Oh, I love them. The movies, please. I can watch. I'll sit down and watch those movies anytime that you want to. It's just like that. I just don't like the game. Or even and I love Conan. I mean, I am a hardcore Conan guy, and they did some Conan tie-in modules stuff there back in the day, and um, I couldn't. It just wasn't Dungeons and Dragons enough. It didn't seem like I was playing Dungeons and Dragons. Now, with that said, the Dragonlance stuff I love. At least at the beginning, it like other games out there, they beat that horse till it couldn't walk anymore. They had to keep getting weirder and weirder and do change things in order to keep the story going. But um, so it kind of lost me there at the end. Which is the same thing, and I had that happen with a lot of. I mean, that's what eventually cooled me off on BattleTech. Is they they just part of it was jumping. Every time I turned around, we were jumping 25 years or 50 years or whatever, and then to keep it, which I understand. I mean, from a game designer standpoint, I understand everything that they did. Doesn't mean I have to like it though. And and that was it. Just they had to keep going further and further away from what that original game was, to try to come up with new stuff to sell and everything like that. And I finally just couldn't do it anymore. Then when they did the lumberjack mix and stuff, that did me a final straw. So, and that's one of the reasons why I do CAV the way that I do. Is, we don't want to do a lot of jumping and everything like that. I want us to explore the universe together and spend time with those characters and learn things as we go along together. And that's really my goal. That's my plan for the game. One of the reasons why when I did the new version, I changed some of the stuff with the game universe. Because if you go back to the original Cav rulebook that we worked on when I was still there and stuff, we described the first galactic war and this battle and that battle and everything like that, and that was all fine and dandy to read about it, but I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to live through that. I wanted to be part of that first galactic war and be able to sit around and have the war stories about this or that. So that was a big important thing to me when I made changes in the background. Was I wanted to try to stay true to what we did, but by the same token, I want you as a player to be able to experience those things, and we'll experience them together. I have a broad outline how I want the galaxy to advance and where we're going to go, and then we'll all fill in the little bits as we go along together. So. I certainly hope to be doing a lot more of that this year or at this point, but thanks to COVID, that really threw a monkey wrench into a bunch of that. It is what it is. So much stuff. I don't know about you, Colonel Kane, but around here, every night is paint night. One way or another. I'm just saying. A little ridge or something in tree line, bush line. Well, we're getting down to the last 5 minutes for the night. If it wasn't so late, I would, and it's been such a long day, I would hang around a little more and shoot the chai tea. As everybody knows, it is Taco Tuesday. Be home for that. Big day. Been trying to do better over the last few months, watching what I eat, and it's paid off. And Tuesday nights are my spurge night. But any questions? Anything anybody wants me to cover in the last 5 minutes? Preferably train orientated, even though we haven't talked a lot to train tonight, but it all comes around. I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow night is CAV Live. Me and James will be here. We will be talking some CAVCon things. We might have a couple of previews of some things. Assault on New Memphis. It is it's part of the Flashpoint, and work continues. It's important a couple of days, and then it's not important for a while. Something else does. We'll get there. Getting our new casting system in is really kind of been priority here, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel there. So. Spoilers tomorrow? Yeah, like I said, we probably have a couple of things to talk about. Little previews, things that we're going to talk about. And maybe talk about the minis that we're going to release for CAVCon. I don't know. A possibility. I know. I appreciate it. If everybody probably bugged me more about things, other things would probably get done faster. But out of sight, out of mind, as I tell my children. Then Saturday, Chris will be back sculpting on something. So I know that he worked on the hind, which he got that done. Getting in the process ready to run one of those. We're going to start getting it sized. We run into this actually came up with another model today, and just it happens, especially at 10 millimeter scale. Sometimes to make something in scale that's either overly big or overly small doesn't always work out the best. So sometimes we have to fudge a little bit. So I try to keep it as close as I can and keep it in there, but just sometimes it's just got to be, especially with little models, you know. It came up in a conversation we were talking about the other day is, you know, when if you play BattleTech, the Savannah Masters, you know, and they put those in scale, and they're a little bit bigger than Ladybug, and they were hard to deal with. Interesting. On the hind, all the blades are pointing the same direction. Shouldn't they be counter rotating? I think it's probably the way he's just got it set up. We'll flip it so that the one blades will turn the other way. He probably just hadn't caught the fact that they're sticking on top of each other. But those are the little things that I catch when they finally come to my table, and that's the stuff I look for. That's part of my job description. Does that qualify as quality control or just? I like to try to keep everything as accurate as possible. That goes back to, like I said, sometimes we can't make minis as small as they really should be because they'd be a pain in the butt to do anything with. They're a pain in the butt to paint. They're, you know, so at this scale, if it's a little too big, a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be, it's still a small when it's laying out on the board. So it's all right. We've done that before. Haven't had any. All right. Well, we have come to the end of the night. I'm going to finish this piece here, and then I will bid you adieu. And well, you have to tell him stuff like that. Just tell him. So you're watching that and it doesn't make sense, or catch it and go. But me and James will be back tomorrow night. I will continue on the terrain. Should have some new stuff next week to work on. Get these all behind me. Anyway. Yeah, and if we don't catch it, we'll come up with some crazy story. So anyway, guys, take care. I appreciate you being here. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Maybe you'll see me on Discord some tomorrow. I've been trying to jump in a little bit on the afternoons and check everything out. So everybody be safe, be careful, and we will see you later. Peace.